welcome to Bible Body Doubling. This is where we read the stories together and we wonder out loud. I am your host, Giovanna J, here with my co-hosts, KJ5 and CSB. So right now we're still in the House of David, a curiosity series that lives within the Bible Body Doubling podcast. Last episode we read 1 Samuel chapter 15 through 19. And so we're going to do a quick little bit of about last episode. All right, so I keep trying. I don't know if I should still keep trying to talk about last episode or not, because it is just really, I know I say this every episode, but it is really difficult for me to not talk about it. And I want to gossip about the gospel. Okay? I want to gossip about the Bible. But I want to leave something for you all. You let me know. Can we gossip about it a little bit? Spoiler alerts? Or should I just name the characters and leave the rest to imagination? So you all have to go back to the last episode. Either way it goes. We have some little intros that came in on last episode. The one and only King David. And so he's not king yet. But he came up on the scene. We had Goliath that came up on the scene as well. That is the Philistines partnered with the giants, and Goliath was the opponent of David. And David, we're still at young David. Young David, King Saul. So King Saul is a man. And then we have the prophet Samuel. Okay, so in chapter 15, we have a lot of interactions between the prophet Samuel, King Saul, and God. It was really intense. We have chapter 16, and that's when David was anointed king. Then we have chapter 17, and he's also, at this point, he's back and forth to the courts. King Saul has ordered David back and forth to the courts, but he does not know that King Saul does not know yet that David has been anointed by the prophet Samuel as a king. But he's going back and forth right now to play the lyre. Remember me last episode? Lyre. I just read that and I was like, this sounds so piratey. So he was playing the lyre. Then we have chapter 17. That's when him and Goliath go toe to toe. Chapter 18, he defeats him and a lot of things happen. And then we get introduced to King Saul's children. We have Merab and we have Michael. Then after that, we have, how can I say this? In chapter 19, we have a confrontation between David and King Saul. And then we have Jonathan. We see in chapter 20 how Jonathan feels about David. And Jonathan, remember, he's the future king. He's King Saul's son. So he's the prince. He's the next one for the throne. And so in this chapter, we figure out how he really feels about David. And then, chapter 20 we're reading today, but like chapter 19 / going into 20, because it closes scene in the middle of a scene. And so we're coming in on the scene. So I'm going to start reading from chapter 19, verse 23. So we can kind of like, that's my own little kind of like, the little prelude. You know how they do like on last episode. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and read. So we're reading today 1 Samuel chapter 20 all the way on over to chapter 24. I want to also take this moment to apologize. I want to apologize to y'all because these first first 5 episode, I have not been speaking into the mic. So my mic has been further away from me, and this is new for me. And yeah, so I want to apologize if you all was having struggle, you all was struggling listening to me. I apologize because I did not have the mic by me as I should. So I'm hoping that this sounds a lot better for you all. But thank you so much for tuning in. So let's get into this good book. Okay? And okay. Chapter 20. I just want to give a little shout out to my girl Odetta one time. Just, she knows why. I'm looking at it now, and I thank you. I thank you. A ram in the bush. A ram in the bush. All right, chapter 20. Trying to make sure that I am close to the mic, just letting you know why we have so much turmoil in the background. Don't worry, when I get to episode 110, your girl is going to be on point. All right, chapter 20. Oh, no, I told you chapter 19, verse 23. All right, chapter 19, verse 23. We're in 1 Samuel. So he went to Naoth in Ramah. The Spirit of God also came on him. And as he walked along, he prophesied until, we're talking about King Saul at this time. Was I saying King Saul before, or was I saying King Samuel? I hope I was saying the right characters. King Saul, Prophet Samuel, and David of youth. So this one right now, we're on King Saul. He's prophesying. So he went to Naoth in Ramah. The Spirit of God also came on him. And as he walked along, he prophesied until he entered Naoth in Ramah. Saul then removed his clothes and also prophesied before Samuel. He collapsed and lay naked all that day and all that night. That is why they say, is Saul also among the prophets? Close scene. Chapter 20. David fled from Naoth in Ramah and came to Jonathan and asked, "What have I done? What did I do wrong? How have I sinned against your father so that he wants to take my life?" Jonathan said to him, No, you won't die. Listen, my father doesn't do anything great or small without telling me. So why would he hide this matter from me? This can't be true. I feel like I could have did a better acting scene about that, but I really tried to speak into the mic. So let me do that. Close take. Let me do that again. I can do Jonathan a little bit better. Give me one moment. All right. Jonathan said to him, "No, you won't die. Listen, my father doesn't do anything, great or small, without telling me. So why would he hide this matter from me? This can't be true." But David said, "Your father certainly knows that I have found favor with you. He has said, Jonathan must not know of this, or else he will be grieved." David also swore, "As surely as the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, there is but a step between me and death." Jonathan said to David, "Whatever you say, I will do for you." So David told him, "Look, tomorrow is the new moon, and I'm supposed to sit down to eat with the king. Instead, let me go, and I'll hide in the countryside for the next 2 nights. If your father misses me at all, say, David urgently requested my permission to go quickly to his hometown Bethlehem for an annual sacrifice there involving the whole clan. If he says good, then your servant is safe. But if he becomes angry, you will know he has evil intentions. Deal kindly with your servant, for you have brought me into a covenant with you before the Lord. If I have done anything wrong, then kill me yourself. Why take me to your father? No, Jonathan responded. If I ever find out my father has evil intentions against you, wouldn't I tell you about it? So David asked Jonathan, who will tell me if your father answers you harshly? He answered David, come on, let's go out to the countryside. So both of them went out to the countryside. By the Lord, the God of Israel, I will sound out to my father by this time tomorrow or the next day. If I find out that he is favorable towards you, will I not send for you and tell you? If my father intends to bring evil on you, may the Lord punish Jonathan. Do so severely if I do not tell you and send you away so you may leave safely. May the Lord be with you, just as he was with my father. If I continue to live, show me kindness from the Lord. But if I die, don't ever withdraw your kindness from my household. Not even when the Lord cuts off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. Then Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, may the Lord hold David's enemies accountable. Jonathan once again swore to David in his love for him, because he loved him as he loved himself. Then Jonathan said to him, tomorrow is the new moon. You'll be missed because your seat will be empty. The following day, hurry down and go to the place where you hid on the day this incident began, and stay beside the rock Ezel. I wonder what that rock name means. One moment. Ezel means, guess it in Hebrew we should be looking. Let's look at Hebrew. Ezel means departure, going away. Got to be more careful. Oh, see, I didn't have the mic by me. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm back. Ezel means departure or going away. Ain't that's what it say? Let's look back at home. One moment. Okay, it says verse 19, chapter 20. The following day, hurry down and go to the place where you hid on the day this incident began, and stay beside the rock of Ezel. I think those are context clues. All right, let's get back to the good book. Y'all in the screen? All right, let me go back a little bit because I interrupted the thought. Verse 18, then Jonathan said to him, tomorrow is the new moon. You will be missed because your seat will be empty. The following day, hurry down and go to the place where you hid on the day this incident began, and stay beside the rock Ezel. I will shoot 3 arrows beside it, as if I'm aiming at a target. Then I will send a servant and say, go and find the arrows. Now, if I expressly say to the servant, look, the arrows are on this side of you, get them, then come, because as the Lord lives, it is safe for you and there is no problem. But if I say this to the youth, look, the arrows are beyond you, then go. For the Lord is sending you away. As for the matter you and I have spoken about, the Lord will be a witness between you and me forever. So David hid in the countryside. At the new moon, The king sat down to eat the meal. He sat at his usual place on the seat by the wall. Jonathan sat facing him, and Abner took his place beside Saul. But David's place was empty. Saul did not say anything that day because he thought, something unexpected has happened. He must be ceremonially unclean. Yeah, that's it. He's unclean. However, the day after the new moon, the second day, David's place was still empty. And Saul asked his son, Jonathan, why didn't Jesse's son come to the mill either yesterday or today? Jonathan answered, David asked for my permission to go to Bethlehem. He said, please let me go because our clan is holding a sacrifice in the town. And my brother has told me to be there. So now if I found favor with you, let me go so I can see my brothers. That's why he didn't come to the king's table. Then Saul became angry with Jonathan and shouted, you son of a perverse and a rebellious woman! Don't I know that you are siding with Jesse's son to your own shame and to the disgrace of your mother? Every day Jesse's son lives on earth, you and your kingship are not secure. Now, send for him and bring him to me. He must die. Jonathan answered his father back, why is he to be killed? What has he done? Then Saul threw his spear at Jonathan to kill him, his own son. Okay, his own son. Let's rewind. Verse 33. Then Saul, the king, threw his spear at Jonathan, his son, the prince, to kill him. So he knew that his father was determined to kill David. He got up from the table fiercely angry and did not eat any food that second day. Way to go, Jonathan. Of the new moon. For he was grieved because of his father's shameful behavior towards David. In the morning, Jonathan went out to the countryside for the appointed meeting with David. A young servant A young servant was with him. He said to the servant, run and find the arrows I'm shooting. As the servant ran, Jonathan shot an arrow behind him. He came to the location of the arrow that Jonathan had shot. But Jonathan called to him and said, the arrows is beyond you, isn't it? Then Jonathan called to him, hurry up and don't stop. Jonathan's servant picked up the arrow and returned to his master. He did not know anything. Only Jonathan and David knew the arrangement. Then Jonathan gave his equipment to the servant who was with him and said, go take it back to the city. When the servant had gone, David got up from the south side of the stone easel, fell face down to the ground, and paid homage 3 times. Then he and Jonathan kissed each other and wept with each other. So David wept more. Jonathan said to David, go in the assurance the two of us pledged in the name of the Lord when we said, the Lord will be a witness between you and me, and between my offspring and your offspring forever. Then David left, and Jonathan went into the city. David went to the priest Ahimelech at Nob. Ahimelech was afraid to meet David, so he said to him, why are you alone, and no one is with you? David answered the priest Ahimelech, the king gave me a mission, but he told me, don't let anyone know anything about the mission I'm sending you on, or what I have ordered you to do. I have stationed my young men at a certain place. Now, what do you have on hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread or whatever can be found. The priest said, there is no ordinary bread on hand. However, There is sacred bread. I'm sorry, there is consecrated bread, but the young men may eat it only if they have kept themselves from women. Oh. David answered, I swear that women are being kept from us. As always, when I go out to battle, the young men's bodies are consecrated even on an ordinary mission. So, of course, their bodies are consecrated today. So the priest gave him the consecrated bread, for there was no bread there except the bread of the presence that had been removed from the presence of the Lord. When the bread was removed, it had been replaced with warm bread. One of Saul's servants, detained before the Lord, was there that day. His name was Doeg the Edomite, chief of Saul's shepherds. David said to Ahimelech, do you have a spear or a sword on hand? I didn't even bring my sword or my weapons since the king's mission was so urgent. The priest replied, the sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, is here, wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If you want to take it for yourselves, then take it, for there isn't another one here. There's none like it, David said. Give it to me. David fled that day from Saul's presence and went to King Achish of Gath. But Achish's servant said to him, isn't this David, the king of the land? Oh, I didn't know they said that. Oh, no. Y'all know what this means. I got to bring out the highlighter. I did not know people was calling him a king. Okay, then. Learn something new every day. Hold up, y'all got to see me. Learn something new every day. I did not know that they were starting to call David a king. If I was Saul, I'd be mad too. Let's get back into it. Don't they sing about him during their dances? Saul has killed his 1,000, but David his tens of thousands. David took this to heart and became very afraid of King Achish of Gath. So he pretended to be insane in their presence. He acted like a madman around them, scribbling on the doors of the city gate and letting saliva run down his beard. Look, you can see the man is crazy, Achish said to his servants. Why did you bring him to me? Do I have such a shortage of crazy people that you brought this one to act crazy around me? Is this one going to come into my house? So David left Gath and took refuge in the cave of Adullam. When David's brothers and his father's whole family heard, they went down and joined him there. Oh, that's so sweet. See, that's why you got to have you a family. But for those of us who don't, we can always make some by love. They may not be by blood, but you can make you some by love. They went down and joined him there. In addition, every man who was desperate, in debt, or discontented rallied around him, and he became their leader. About 400 men were with him. From there, David went to Mizpah of Moab, where he said to the king of Moab, Please let my father and mother stay with you until I know what God would do for me. So he left them in the care of the king of Moab. Know what this means? Another highlighted moment. So let me just pause real quick. Just a little tidbit. I'm hoping in either June or July that we all can read, starting from Genesis, the entire book, all the way through, no matter how long it takes, together. That is what I want to do. So I'm starting off now with 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 King, 2 King, 1 King, and I may do a little bit of the gospel, Matthew, Mark, up into July. I'm going to get it together. Up into July. But I really want to read, starting from Genesis, the entire Bible. So if you have never read the entire Bible together, I would love to read it to you all in July. That's what I'm thinking. But Moab, the reason why I brought out my trusty highlighter, because Moab is significant. And the fact that Moab is the place and the people that is right now helping his family find refuge. I'm telling you, it's tea. But we got to read it together so y'all can know who Moab is. It's tea. All right, back to the story. Okay, please, he went to the king of Moab. Please let my father and mother stay with you. Okay, let's back that up again. Verse 3, chapter 22, verse 3. From there, David went to Mizpah of Moab, where he said to the king of Moab, please let my father and mother stay with you until I know what God will do for me. So he left them in the care of the king of Moab, and they stayed with him the whole time David was in the stronghold. I'm sorry, I have to make another little thing. Like, I love that he took care of his family, even though like he got this strong word from the Lord and all these things. He could just said, I'm out here doing what God told me to do. But he said, let me go ahead and make sure my responsibilities are taken care of. And he was young. Okay, thank y'all for being so patient and waiting for me, because this is for me and you. Me and you. So he left them in the care of the king of Moab, and they stayed with him the whole time David was in the stronghold. Then the prophet Gad said to David, don't stay in the stronghold. Leave and return to the land of Judah. So David left and went to the forest of Herath. Saul heard that David and his men had been discovered. And that time Saul was in Gibeah, sitting under the tamarisk tree at the high place. His spear was in his hand, and all his servants were standing around him. Saul said to his servant, listen, men of Benjamin, is Jesse's son going to give all you fields and vineyards? Do you think he'll make all of you commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds? That's why all of you have conspired against me. Nobody tells me when my own son makes a covenant with Jesse's son, none of you cares about me or tell me that my son has stirred up my own servant to wait in ambush for me, as is the case today. Then Doeg the Edomite, who was in charge of Saul's servants, answered, I saw Jesse's son come to Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, at Nob. Ahimelech inquired of the Lord for him and gave him provisions. He also gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. The king sent messengers to summon the priest Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, and his father's whole family, who were priests in Nob. All of them came to the king. Then Saul said, listen, son of Ahitub, I'm at your service, my lord, he said. Saul asked him, why did you and Jesse's son conspire against me? You gave him bread and a sword and inquired of God for him, so he could rise up against me and wait in ambush, as is the case today. I'm gonna use that from now on. You didn't do dishes and you conspired against me, as is the case today. Verse 14. Ahimelech replied to the king, who among all your servants is as faithful as David? He is the king's son-in-law, captain of your bodyguard, and honored in your house. Was today the first time I inquired of God for him? Of course not. please don't let the king make an accusation against your servant or any of my family, my father's family, for your servant didn't have any idea about all of this. No, I'm adding words. Give me a second. I shouldn't be taking a dot or a tittle from the Bible. Hold on. Please don't let the king make an accusation against your servant or any of my father's family, for your servant didn't have any idea about all this. But the king said, you will die, Ahimelech, you and your father's whole family. Then the king ordered the guards standing by him, turn and kill the priests of the Lord, because they sided with David. For they knew he was fleeing, but they didn't tell me. But the king's servants would not lift a hand to execute the priests of the Lord. So the king said to Doeg, go and execute the priests. So Doeg, the Edomite, went and executed the priests himself. On that day, he killed 85 men who wore linen ephods. He also struck down Nob, the city of the priests, with the sword, both men and women, infants and nursing babies, oxen, donkeys, and sheep. However, one of the sons of Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, escaped. His name was Abiathar, and he fled to David. Abiathar told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord. Then David said to Abiathar, I knew that Doeg, the Edomite, was there that day, and that he was sure to report to Saul. I myself am responsible for the lives of everyone in your father's family. Stay with me. Don't be afraid. For the one who wants to take my life wants to take your life. You'll be safe with me. Hold on, y'all. Did I go too far? I was all in the mood. Hold on. What are we supposed to be reading up to today? Give me 1 second. We are reading up to 24. Okay, we're on chapter 23. It was reported to David, look, the Philistines are fighting against Keilah and raiding the threshing floors. So David inquired of the Lord, should I launch an attack against these Philistines? The Lord answered David, launch an attack against the Philistines and rescue Keilah. But David's men say to him, look, we're afraid here in Judah. How much more if we go to Keilah against the Philistine forces? Once again, David inquired of the Lord, and the Lord answered him, go at once to Keilah, for I will hand the Philistines over to you. Then David and his men went to Keilah, fought against the Philistines, drove their livestock away, and inflicted heavy losses on them. So David rescued the inhabitants of Keilah. Abiathar, son of Ahimelech, fled to David at Keilah, and he brought an ephod with him. When it was reported to Saul that David had gone to Keilah, he said, God has handed him over to me, for he has trapped himself by entering a town with barred gates. Then Saul summoned all the troops to go to war at Keilah and besiege David and his men. When David learned that Saul was plotting evil against him, he said to the priest Abiathar, bring the ephod. David said, the Lord God of Israel, your servant, has reliable information that Saul intends to come to Keilah and destroy the town because of me. Will the citizens of Keilah hand me over to him? Will Saul come down as your servant has heard? Lord God of Israel, please tell your servant. The Lord answered, he will come down. Then David answered, will the citizens of Keilah hand me and my men over to Saul? They will, the Lord responded. So David and his men, numbering about 600, left Keilah at once and moved from place to place. When it was reported to Saul that David had escaped from Keilah, he called off the expedition. David then stayed in the wilderness strongholds and in the hill country of the wilderness of Ziph. Saul searched for him every day, but God did not hand David over to him. David was in the wilderness of Ziph in Horesh when he saw that Saul had come out to take his life. Then Saul's son Jonathan came to David in Horesh and encouraged him in his faith in God. Baby, everybody need a Jonathan, okay? Let me go ahead and see. Wait a minute. I'm trying to see. Do I want to grab the highlighter or do I need to bold it? I'm gonna bold it with my pencil because it's looking a little faded. All right. Saying. Oh, let me back up. All right. Verse 16. Then Saul's son Jonathan came to David in Horesh and encouraged him in his faith in God, saying, "Don't be afraid, for my father Saul will never lay a hand on you. You yourself will be king over Israel." Got to be more careful. Got to be more careful. Jonathan is so noble. Okay? So noble. You are supposed to be prince next. You are prince and you are supposed to be king next. Yes, yet you understand the assignment. Don't be afraid, for my father Saul will never lay a hand on you. You yourself will be king over Israel, and I'll be your second in command. So sweet. Even my father Saul knows it is true. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. Listen, Linda, listen. Listen, Linda, listen. Jonathan's that friend. Jonathan's that dude. It touches my heart every time. You know what he gets? He gets a highlight, okay? This part right here. I'll be your second in command. Like, you're supposed to be king. That is so sweet. Even my father Saul knows it's true. Then the two of them made a covenant in the Lord's presence. Afterward, David remained in Horesh while Jonathan went home. Some Ziphites came up to Saul at Gibeah and said, "David is hiding among us in the strongholds in Horesh on the hill of Hachilah, south of Jeshimon. Now, whenever the king wants to come down, let him come down. Our part will be to hand him over to the king. May you be blessed by the Lord," replied Saul, "for you have shown concern for me. Go and check again, investigate where he goes and who has seen him there. They tell me he is extremely cunning. Investigate all the places where he hides. Then come back to me with accurate information and I'll go with you. If it turns out he really is in the region, I'll search for him among all the clans of Judah." So they went to Ziph ahead of Saul. Now, David and his men were in the wilderness near Maon. Let's go with Maon. Near Maon in the Arabah south of Jeshimon. And Saul and his men went to look for him. When David was told about it, he went down to the rock and stayed in the wilderness of Maon. Saul heard of this and pursued David there. Saul went along one side of the mountain. and David and his men went along the other side. Even though David was hurrying to get away from Saul, Saul and his men were closing in on David and his men to capture them. Then a messenger came to Saul saying, "Come quickly, because the Philistines have raided the land." So Saul broke off his pursuit of David and went to engage the Philistines. Therefore, that place was named the Rock of Separation. From there, David went up and stayed in the strongholds of En-Gedi. When Saul returned from pursuing the Philistine, he was told, "David is in the wilderness near En-Gedi." So Saul took 3,000 of Israel's fit young men and went to look for David and his men in front of the rocks of the wild goats. When Saul came to the sheep pens along the road, a cave was there, and he went in to relieve himself. David and his men were staying in the recesses of the cave. So they said to him, "Look, this is the day the Lord told you about. I will hand your enemy over to you so you can do to him whatever you desire." Then David got up and secretly cut off the corner of Saul's robe. Afterward, David's conscience bothered him because he had cut off the corner of Saul's robe. He said to his men, "I swear before the Lord, I will never do such a thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed. I will never lift my hand against him, since he is the Lord's anointed." With these words, David persuaded his men and did not let them rise up against Saul. Then Saul left the cave and went on his way. After that, David got up, went out the cave, and called to Saul, "My lord the king!" When Saul looked behind him, David knelt low with his face to the ground and paid homage. David said to Saul, "Why do you listen to the words of people who say, 'Look, David intends to harm you'? You can see with your own eyes that the Lord handed you over to me today in the cave. Someone advised me to kill you, but I took pity on you and said, 'I won't lift my hand against my Lord, since he is the Lord's anointed.' Look, my father, look at the corner of your robe in my hand, for I cut it off, but I didn't kill you. Recognize that I've committed no crime or rebellion. I haven't sinned against you, even though you are hunting me down to take my life. May the Lord judge between me and you. May the Lord take vengeance on you for me. But my hand will never be against you. As the old proverb says, wickedness comes from wicked people. My hand will never be against you. Who has the king of Israel come after? What are you chasing after? A dead dog, a single flea? May the Lord be the judge and decide between you and me. May he take the notice and plead my case and deliver me from you." When David finished saying these things to him, Saul replied, "Is that your voice, David, my son?" Then Saul wept out loud and said to David, "You are more righteous than I, for you have done what is good to me, though I have done what is evil to you. You yourself have told me today what good you did for me. When the Lord handed me over to you, you didn't kill me. When a man finds his enemy, does he let him go unharmed? May the Lord repay you for good for what you've done for me today. Now I know for certain you will be king, and the king of Israel will be established in your hand. Therefore swear to me by Lord, hey, you will not cut off my descendants or wipe out my name from my father's family. So David swore to Saul. Then Saul went back home, and David and his men went up to the stronghold. Close. See. That was deep. Too deep for TV. That was deep. That was sad. It really was sad. David is very noble as well. That must have been such a moment. David's men is watching this. That must have been such a moment. Because remember, we read earlier in last episode, it said that Saul loved David. And it was before Saul started getting like really jealous. And oh, so sorry. I didn't have the mic to me. It was before Saul was getting really jealous. But it said he loved David. And then you see like a little bit of that love in the scene when he calls him in verse I'm looking for it. It's the part where he calls him father. Like, dang, Gina. You know? The emotional turmoil. Like, just, these are real human beings with real emotions. Just the emotion. Like, David right now is face to face with the man who's trying to kill him. But the man he loves. Like, he loves Saul. And the confusion of like, why are you out here trying to kill me? Even though we know why he's trying to kill him, because he found out David has been anointed king. Did he at this time? Or is it just, did he find out or maybe it could be just sheer jealousy at this time, because I don't know if he found out yet that David was anointed. I think he did find out that David was anointed king. Yes, he did already. And so I'm just like, just the utter anguish of you're a refugee, like legit. He is / refugee in these lands, and he's famous at that. He's a celebrity. King David is a celebrity. And so you're a refugee, but you're also what's the other word? You're a refugee in the land, but you're also a fugitive from your homeland. You can't be around your mom, your dad, your wife, your cousins, your auntie. Nothing familiar. Bless God that you got these 400 men who wants to be with you. And you just like, you have no home. And you finally meet face to face with this man who has caused you all this trouble. And you call him father. Where they do that at? This was gossip with the gospel. Okay. So close scene. Thank you so much for allowing me to read to you. This is Bible Body Doubling. It is sponsored by the Gardener's House. Read with me on the next episode. Ta-ta for now.